tactical downhill. Even though you've got to ski aggressively, you also have to ski the line. You have to know where to set up and to give up a few hundredths of a second to gain it back on a flat. Thorson skis those kinds of downhills well, but he hasn't really done well at KitzBuhel simply because he seems to like the smoother, aggressive downhills. You see, you missed it there. He was wide coming into the Steilhang, about 2 to 3 meters off the gate, and immediately, as he would come to the interval time coming out of here, even though he's #1, that would have cost him some time.
He is the first skier down the Hahnenkamm, so his will be the leading time. Time on the left insignificant in that it belongs to a snow seed skier, someone from the back of the pack, and Thorson has a substantial lead.
He's doing what he has to do. Thorson is known to do well in downhills like Val d'Isère or Val Gardena, where they're technical, you've got to maintain good snow contact, and KitzBuhel isn't of that ilk. It's rough, it's tough, but this year it's not.
He skied the strife yesterday in 1:57.42, should be close to that today. In fact, he is 3/10 faster today, and so already the course runs faster for skier #1. Jan Einar Thorson has set the early standard. A reborn Austrian, 33-year-old Leonhard Stock comes into this race 4th in the downhill standings.
Leonard's got to overcome his reluctance to go for it, get down into a low tuck. He is always known as a good turner, and you see right there, coming off the mouse volley, very reluctant to get low, and paid the price at the exit. Skidded on the short flat in that sharp left-hand turn, but he'll ski the Steilhang very well, I'm sure. Up very nice, carving right in, much better turn than Thorson. But he's going to have to really make it up because that bobble just before coming to the Steilhang would have cost him a lot of time.
He had said he was going to retire at the end of this year, was barely hanging on to a spot in the top seed when he started the season with consecutive second-place finishes. Now you'd have to think of him as an Olympic contender. He's 15 hundredths back of Thorson at the interval.
Leonhard Stock's best result on the Hahnenkamm is 7th, so that's sort of an indicator of why this is not a downhill that he thrives on. And you can see it here. He's not trying to aggressively seek that aerodynamic position. It's tough. It's fast down here, 130 kilometers an hour. And look at that, off that final roll, completely opened up. That would lose a lot of time because it's very flat coming into the final schuss, and he's dropped a few more tenths of a second.
Lost some time on the bottom part of the course. He's 3/10 back of Thorson and second of 2 down the hill so far. Yesterday was a magnificent day for the Swiss. They finished 1, 2, 3. Marr was second, but he's already got his place in KitzBuhel history, having won here 3 years ago.
Now, Marr, he's making tiny little mistakes. That's what's been catching him so far this year. Yesterday was one of the most flawless runs he's ever made. Really skied the Hahnenkamm well. You can tell how much he likes this course. He's got a bit of a precarious style, though. Those arms out to the side, it tends to leave greater margin for error, but so far he's skied the upper part very nicely. Out onto the flat into that low tuck position.
Just turned 30 years old, Ken, and again we're looking at a skier who deserves serious medal consideration in the Olympic Games, and he is within reach of the lead at the interval, only 5 hundredths back.
Well, that's not good news for Marr because he's 5 hundredths behind Thorson's best time. Thorson finished 8th yesterday, and Marr was 2nd, so he was much faster. Looks like he's having a slightly slower run, possibly this year, in today's race. Very erratic off the bump.
It's going after 1:57.16, wild off that last jump, but he gains time and takes the lead by 2/10 of a second. 1:56.96. Slower than his time yesterday, but now he'll wait it out at the bottom of the hill to see if anybody can beat it. Lasse Arnesen was a strong 4th yesterday. With that, conquered a few demons, Ken, because it was only a year ago the Hahnenkamm got the better of him. He tore up his knee on the top part of the course.
It was a great story to see him finish 4th yesterday. It was right here, the mouse volley. He had misfortune. He fell into the compression and tore up his knee. He's been slowly recovering, and look at the way he skied. To make that quick of a comeback is truly remarkable because he injured himself partway into the 3rd week of January last year, and already at the beginning of the season he was competitive and skied the Steilhang beautifully, carved right around, but he skidded a little bit at the exit. Again, that's a convex turn, hard to maintain that edge, and you have to make that commitment, go back to the fence and make a commitment to a blind exit.
Smooth at the top is Arnesen, but he is almost 4/10 out at the interval. With Skardal out, Arnesen and Thorson are the only 2 Norwegians left in the first seed. They did pick up the slack yesterday.
Let that arm get behind himself. He's low on the traverse. Had to carve across the line, come back up. It means he's not dropping down. He's not letting gravity work for him. Nice off the last jump. Quickly into his tuck before he even landed. That's good aerodynamic for him.
Time on the left belongs to Daniel Marr. Arneson celebrating his 27th birthday today, but not with the lead. He is a third of a second out and third right now. So with 4 skiers safe in the finish area, it's a Swiss veteran who has the lead. Franz Heinzer will try to conquer the Hahnenkamm for the second time in 24 hours as the Labatt's Blue World Tour continues.
And a little bit erratic off the mouse follower, let that ski float up slightly and was wide on that left-hand turn, setting up on the flat. Hoflener is just not sharp this year. Again, wide coming into the Steilhang, 2 meters off the gate. It means he's running a wider line, covering more distance, slower. He quickly into his tuck. He looks like he's got some fire in his belly finally. All the real earlier races this year looked like he was floating down the course, being far too subtle. And he's 0.6 of a second ahead of the interval time. That means he is pushing harder today. The Austrians, of course, take their ski racing very seriously, and it would have been a disaster that allowed the Swiss sweep the race yesterday.
Well, he was wide on a turn, you're right, but he has got a big lead. He's won 10 downhills in a 13-year career, and he's come close here with 2 second placings in 85 and 90. Striped course ran awfully fast yesterday, quickened by overnight frost. Today it's fast again. It is certainly that for Helmut Hoflener, who has taken the lead by a 1/4 of a second. In fact, he skied faster than he did yesterday.
0.6 of a second faster than yesterday. That's a good sign.
The home country crowd loves it. Now, Franz Heinzer's already done it twice and consecutively last year and yesterday. To wrestle a win from the Hahnenkamm 3 times in a row, Ken, is the stuff of which legends are made.
What you saw in his start there was trying to get everything out of the start, as much speed as possible. A little wide again on that tough left-hand turn, but look at the way Heinzer skis. He's got those shoulders rolled more over than anyone else. The arms are out there straighter than anyone else. And as he comes across the side hill traverse out of the Steilhang, beautiful carved turn, quickly down into his tuck, seeking out those 100ths of a second, those precious 100ths, to try to move into the lead.
I'm not sure he looked as sharp on top of the hill today as he did yesterday, but the time doesn't lie. Heinzer's lead is huge, 3/4 of a second.
And he gets into his tuck quickly. Watch, he probably get onto the traverse. Let's see how quickly he's into his tuck. He's a little low, having to cut across the side hill. And there, into the aerodynamic form. Not quite as quickly as Mara, but he's got a good lead on him, 0.7 of a second.
Chasing the time of Helmut Hoflener, and Franz Heinzer shatters it. He shatters Hoflener's leading time by 0.7 of a second. That's a lifetime in downhill skiing, and Heinzer now looking at his 3rd straight win at Kitzbühel.
Beautiful run on the bottom. He was able to maintain that lead over Hoflener. Lost a few 100ths of a second, but Heinzer is just on a roll as he moves into the Olympics.
Austria's Peter Wernsberger won both races here in '86 when they had a double downhill. Respectability is all he's trying to achieve this season, Ken, and he broke the top 15 yesterday.
That was the first time we saw him in the top 15 all year. We see the wide shot, beautiful shot, showing the steepness and really the precarious position these racers put themselves into, setting up right by the fence there to carve around in this big turn. Watch Wernsberger as he comes into the Steilhang. He is so hard on his edges. He just is throwing the skis out and then just pounding down, and every time he does that, it costs him time.
And if you look at his run compared to Franz Heinzer's, there really is no comparison. Heinzer said that the win here last year propelled him to the World Championship. Is it possible a win by Heinzer here this year, if he gets it, would propel him to Olympic gold?
There's no doubt about it. This is the high point of the season, to be on form, moving through the classic races. He still has the Lauberhorn to contend with next week, but still, Franz Heinzer is undoubtedly the man to beat.
And Wernsberger, skier number 7, one of 4 Austrians in the first seed today. Stock and Hoflener skied ahead of him. Hoflener currently second to Heinzer. It's Heinzer's time on the left that Wernsberger was chasing, and he was no threat to it. He is 6th right now. Well, Rob Boyd's brief season ended last week at Garmisch, so here's the only North American skier in the top seed, A.J. Kitt of Rochester.
A.J. made a huge mistake yesterday in the Steilhang. He was way off the line. Really cost him a lot of time as he had to carve himself back onto the line, and as he went out onto the flat, time just ticked away. Watch how he's skiing, though. Upper body, quite quiet. He's really learned to use his equipment, and that's important. Much more direct. He was on line this time as he comes through the Steilhang, carving well, and did not skid on the exit.
He's quoted in the U.S. press guide as saying, "I knew I would not be an overnight sensation, but boy, he's been hot this year." 15th yesterday. In years past, he'd been happy with that, but not this year. 9/10 out at the interval. That's not too far back. Throw out Heinzer's time, and it's about the third best to this point.
No question about it. Coming across the side hill. He's quickly into his tuck. That's good. Look at that. Holding his tuck all the way across the side hill traverse. Quickly down, holding his tuck almost all the way down the Zielschuss. That is good, and good aerodynamic position coming off the final bump.
It's the undisputed leader of the American team, the real hope for a medal for them, and Val d'Isère, and he skied 1:58.14 yesterday, faster than that today, and A.J. Kitt is second.
Almost improved by 2 seconds. That shows you how big that error was that he made yesterday in the Stahlheim.
Picked up half a second on the bottom of the hill, so 8 have skied, and Heinzer has staked another claim to victory, followed by A.J. Kitt of the U.S. The Labatt's Blue World Tour will continue from KitzBuhel, Austria, in just a moment. We'll see if Franz Heinzer can hold on to the lead when we come back. If his time stands up, he'll have established himself as one of skiing's greats. And here is the future of the Swiss team, Ken. Xavier Gigondet, skier number 9, had a career finish here yesterday.
Definitely finishing in the top 3, and that is the kind of thing the Swiss need to build on their future. Much smoother as he went off of the Mouse Folly. He had a long, long flight yesterday, but look how wide. He was really wide in that tough left-hand turn. He's had to cut off the 180-degree roundabout, setting up into the stall. He's lied there again. Those are little mistakes that a newcomer to the first C would make, maybe because the course is so much smoother than what he's experienced. And you saw coming out of the exit, he almost skied up onto the slip skirt. He would have had to skid and cost him a little bit of time, so we'll see at the interval time he's probably fallen a bit behind, although not bad considering the magnitude of that error.
Well, he's a second back, and that's just about where A.J. Kitt was, and Kitt was able to turn that into a good finish.
No question. What he has to do is get into a tuck, but he has to carve back across the line. He almost had missed the gate right in the middle of the traverse, so he was not in anywhere near the aerodynamic form that Kitt had.
The Swiss were 1, 2, 3 yesterday, had 4 of the top 5. Gigondet was on the podium for the first time in his career, and today he was chasing 1:56.04, 0.6 of a second back. Remember, A.J. Kitt gained time on the bottom of the course. Gigondet did a bit, but not enough, and he's third. Well, skier number 10 is the last of the Austrians in the top seed, Patrick Ortlieb.
And there'd be one person certainly that would be looking to see him redeem Austria's honor. Tony Seiler, who the Austrian skiing great, Olympic champion, is the chief of race here. This is his baby. He loves to see the Hahnenkamm run here, and he's the man responsible for the organization of the hill all the time. And Ortlieb has some redeeming to do, because after doing so well in Garmisch, he was only 10th yesterday, being very conservative, setting way up on these turns. But this is one of the tactics of KitzBuhel. You have to be careful. He may be a little slower on top, and that's where he was slow during the week and yesterday, but he was able to hit the line. He can carry the speed out onto the flats, and we'll see at the interval time if those tactics are correct.
8/10 out. Looks like a significant deficit, but again, take away Franz Heinzer's time, and we'd have to say Ortlieb skiing well.
And Ortlieb, he's big. Look how quickly he's into his tuck. All the way across the side hill. Quickly back. He's in the air, and he was back into his tuck. It's not low, but he's got that form.
He's been heating up for the Olympics. He's been 6th, 5th, 2nd, 10th here yesterday. The Olympic downhill only 3 weeks away, so Ortlieb's medal prospects are good. He is half a second out, 0.6 to be exact, at the bottom of the course, and he is third right now, ahead of Xavier Gigondet. Heinzer still leading, and A.J. Kitt is second. We've made the point the Swiss team has some great skiers. Their speedster is Willie Bess. He got them a 5th placing yesterday.
There's no question that these two, Bess and Gigondet, are now the future of the Swiss team, because Maurer and Heinzer aren't youngsters anymore. A lot of skiers going wide on that turn. It's just it's such a quick transition. You've got to go straight through the compression and then make that turn, and it's tough. You see him setting up, coming through the Stahlhang. He was 4th here in 1990, and you know, this downhill is really suited to Willie Bess because he's an exuberant downhiller. He likes air, he likes the jump. This is tough. KitzBuhel's got lots of air, and you've got to ski on the edge. It's the kind of, he's the kind of downhiller that really suits it. 1 second out of the interval time.
But Ken, that finish in 1990 should really have an asterisk beside it. We were on site for that race, and we watched the snow melt all week long. They had just enough to ski the second half of the course and hold a 2-run downhill, really just a way to save the race.
Bess was a little bit erratic coming down the Zielschutz there, and not as clean as he'd like to be in the air. You want to keep those shoulders down, the hands in front, not to the back.
Bess is not close to Heinzer's time. He is 1.2 seconds off the pace. Time was, though, that 1:57.25 would have won this race, but not even close today. With the third of the top seed injured, Hans-Jörg Tauscher of Germany has vaulted into the top seed. Skier number 31 last week, but he goes 12th today.
And he was 17th yesterday. Little bit of a disappointing result, considering his superb result in Garmisch, but we're going to hear a lot of support for him. Lots of German fans, because the German border not far away from KitzBuhel. It's ideally positioned. A lot of Swiss here as well.
Tauscher had almost become the answer to a trivia question. Won the World Championship in Vail in '88, but was missing in action after that.
Terrible Stahlhang there. Much too direct as he came in. Skidded on the exit. He'll pay the price on the flats.
We'll see how much of a price on the interval time, and this time suggests that Hans-Jörg Tauscher may be missing in action once again. Over 3 seconds back. It's impossible to make that up.
There's no way. He's obviously done something else there, too, because normally an error like that would only cost a second, maybe two. He's almost 3.5 seconds off the pace. What he may be doing, in fact, is just skiing the course for a little bit more experience, keeping in mind that they only have 3, maybe 4 training runs. So every single time you get to race this hill, it's something you file away in your inventory of experience, because it all builds on experience.
Well, Tauscher came from the back of the pack last week, but with this finish, that's where he's going to return. And race 2 at KitzBuhel continues in a moment. KitzBuhel, they're all chasing Franz Heinzer again. They may be in the Olympics in 3 weeks as well. His lead is substantial, perhaps secure enough to give him his 3rd straight win here. Last season, a fine one for Christian Gadina. One of the finest moments for the Italian star in it was his 4th placing at KitzBuhel, skier number 13 today.
It's the top half of the course that he has to shine on. He was not sharp here yesterday, and look at that, standing completely erect as he came off the Mossfall. He let his skis drop down below him. Nice and solid, but he's waiting. He was waiting for the turn. He's a little too wide on the roundhouse. Setting up for the Stahlhang. They have to go way up high and drop down. Good turn, but he needed to get back to the fence more there. He didn't carve back to the left far enough, and as a result, he's probably going to skid a little bit wide, not too bad, as he comes out the exit of the Stahlhang.
Last year was one to remember for the Italians on the Hahnenkamm. Gadina was 2nd, Peter Ringaldier 4th. I think I've got that reversed. It was 4th and 2nd. Ringaldier 2nd, and Ringaldier out with the injury right now, so Gadina is the only skier the Italians have in the 1st seed. Ken, perhaps he should be giving himself a tad more leeway on this course.
Well, what's happening, he's at 1.7 out at the interval time and skiing well, but still not sharp. Good on the final jump. It's tough when you're on your own and you lose such a close teammate. He and Ringaldier skied very close together, measuring, giving information. When you lose your compatriot, it's tough.
He was just flat out too slow today. Heinzer's time was in no danger from Gadina, who was a 2.5 back. At Garmisch, Marcus Vossmeyer ended a 5-year drought skiing with a 38th start, but today he's got the luxury of being in the 1st seed.
And that's a luxury indeed, because the course is much smoother, a little bit rough on the top going off the Mossfall. Again, it's timing, but this is where Vossmeyer is good. He knows how to carve these turns. He was very fast in yesterday's race up here. He was slow on the bottom. Look how close he was in on the Stahlhang. Beautiful timing. That's Vossmeyer's Super G excellence in his GS training. We know he was world champion back in 1985, but he has dropped the technical disciplines.
Skied so poorly last season, his 8th in the World Cup, that he seriously considered quitting the sport, but then he caught fire last week, was in the top 15 here yesterday. He's over a 2nd back at the interval.
The difference is on the top, it's all turns. On the lower part, as you can see there, they really plummet. You don't have much in the way of turns. You've got to be able to handle varied terrain, but much more of in a downhill style of handling the variation and looking for aerodynamics, and that's not what Vossmeyer is good at.
Heinzer's time on the left. Vossmeyer, skier number 14, so it's the 7th challenge to Heinzer's time, because he skied number 7, and it survived it. Vossmeyer, though, is in the top 10 right now. Hans Hettner took a spill at Garmisch last week. He was the only one who fell and was unhurt, and he's got the 15th start today.
Hettner, what a difference a year can make. This time last year, he'd come off a second at Garmisch. He was on a roll. This year, he's like a completely different skier. He is not skiing well. He's erratic. Watch how his arms flail around. He looks awkward. He's sticking his rear off into one side. Doesn't seem to be carving his skis. Slipped way wide coming into the Steilhang. Again, see the way that arm flails back? You've got to be carving, pushing that pressure down on the downhill ski. He is just not skiing well.
Vossmeyer and Tauscher have already skied for Germany. Vossmeyer just skied. He's 8th right now. Zehetner, though, needn't worry about the top 10 with that time.
And you compare him to the way Heinzer skis. Heinzer, who's smooth, who's calm, who's aggressive, driving both arms forward, and Zehetner is letting one arm drop back. He loses that clean edge contact, the skis bounce around, and every time that happens, he drops a few more hundredths of a second.
He was hot to start last season, as you mentioned, with 4 top 8 finishes. Didn't manage a single one this season. In fact, couldn't finish the race at Garmisch, and he's well back of Franz Heinzer's time, so Heinzer is closer to confirming victory at KitzBuhel. Gunter Matter is a Super G specialist who may be thinking about skiing downhill more seriously after he was a strong 7th here yesterday.
That was his best downhill result to date. He's always been a pretty solid downhiller, but he's concentrated on giant slalom in particular, but he's a winner in slalom, a winner in giant slalom, and in Super G. But he keeps this up, he may qualify for the Austrian downhill team. The Austrians, normally such a power in downhill, have really suffered. And he was wide coming into the Steilhang, but again, solid, especially when you compare him to Zehetner, who just came down, but skidded at the exit, lost his edge just in that last little bit of the side hill, and almost went right up under the slip skirt.
Well, the technical expertise of this Austrian veteran should be helping him on the turns. At the interval, he's a 2.5 seconds back.
We see him coming on to the final part of this downhill, plunging down towards the town of KitzBuhel. 30,000 people lining the slope. He's getting into his tuck. He's a solid skier. He's got the mentality to maybe become a good downhill skier if he trains the disciplines, and he can get rid of all those little mistakes like the one he just made there off the final jump.
But he looks fast. Has he picked up time on the bottom? Yes, he has. He reduces the deficit to less than a second, and he should not be unhappy with 7th.
This ski season, you can be seen supporting
KitzBuhel. No Canadians have skied yet. Podovinsky and Belchuk will in a moment. Peter Rehak can of Austria, skier number 20. That's where he finished yesterday.
He's the future of the Austrian program, 21-year-old. Solid, very, way back off of the Mausfalle. Let those skis go out, and he's stopping. That could be a bad sign. Yeah, he's very light on one leg. As you see him setting up here for the Mausfalle, when he pressed it, the skis went out from underneath. He was sitting back, and that's the classic anterior cruciate ligament injury position, and it certainly looks like that as they prepare to put him on a toboggan
to the bottom of the hill. You're right. He may have suffered a knee injury without even falling. KitzBuhel usually claims a fair number of skiers. Yesterday, only 1 of 53 did not finish. Today, all finished until Rehak pulled up lame. In the finish area, they're most likely now getting ready to toast Franz Heinzer for the 2nd straight day. It will be an upset of major proportions if anyone can take this race from him now. First Canadian down the Hahnenkamm is Edmonton's Eddie Podovinsky. He's shown marked improvement in his last 2 races.
Good aggressive start there. Again, the visibility having gone a little bit flatter than for the earlier racers. Much smoother, but he could have got down into his tuck again there. Those were the little pieces of experience. We pick him up at the interval time, and we'll see. Now much further off the pace than yesterday. He was within a 1.5 seconds at the interval time coming into the Zilchus. So he's not skiing as clean a run. A little bit of a skid, and look how low he is. He's just, he really had to put on the binders to get this carve back up to make the gate, and that's where the seconds just tick away, so he'd be much, much slower in the Zilchus.
Yes, that was a big mistake. He had to slow down to make the gate. Undoubtedly will cost him lots of time. Top 15 not likely, and in fact he is 21st, over 3 seconds back.
And you can see the disappointment on his face. He knows he made a big mistake there.
Last week, Felix Belchuk started number 60. That's how far he'd fallen. The 35th start, I should say, is still well back, but it's a big improvement.
Well, 16th is building blocks to try to get back to the top. We'll see at the interval time. And he's within a 1.5 seconds. That's a little slower than he was yesterday.
But it's within striking distance of the top 15.
If he can ski the lower part well, he may be able to move even into the top 10. He's in his tuck, pushing. A little bit tentative coming down the Zielshuis.
Been all sorts of speculation as to what caused him to go into that two-season slump. Some speculation about a boot change, but he stood by the new brand. He lost a touch more time on the bottom and is 16th. Still, though, an improvement, and he is headed in the right direction. Banff's Kerry Mullen is skier number 43 today. He is, I should say, this is Roman Torn. I thought we were going to see Kerry Mullen, but here's Roman Torn in the starting gate and heading down the stripe course.
You see, Roman really has been struggling. No doubt about it. He has not been able to put a good result behind him. Wasn't in a tuck there. Wide stance. He needs to be looking more for aerodynamic form, putting his ski out, not carving a turn 3 seconds behind at the interval time. And really, he's not supple. He's letting out, when he hits all the ripples and rolls, which are tough, they start to get holes, and sitting back, coming on the jump into the Zielshuis, you see the roughness, and he's letting that transmit right through his entire body rather than being back a little bit more and absorbing it through his knees, acting like an accordion.
156.04, the time to beat, belongs to Franz Heinzer. Was never in any danger in that challenge from Roman Torn. Well, last week, the French lost Luc Alphon, their leading downhill hope, when he crashed at Garmisch. So now, Ken, they're going to have to rely on skiers from the back of the pack like Duvillard.
No question about it, and Duvillard did quite well considering how his high start position yesterday, finished 18th. He's the son of one of the great former French ski racers. And on the lower part, even though the course is rough, it's chewed up, look at that, 1.6 seconds out, and he is searching for speed. Look at how he's got those arms forward. He's trying to get down into his tuck, searching for the extra little hundredths, and he is attacking the course, even though he's starting from so far behind.
Henri's son, he is Adrien Duvillard for France, and he will not come close to Franz Heinzer's time, but he breaks the top 10, only a second back, and that's a marked improvement for him. He's delighted, and well, he should be.
0.6 of a second he picked up on the lower part, skied that bottom aggressively, and made up piles of time.
Well, you had an advance warning of Kerry Mullen skiing a few moments ago when I mistakenly identified Roman Torn as him, but here he is, skier number 43, and he has shown big improvement in his last few races, if we can see him somewhere in the fog.
Definitely has, and he had good training run this week, but was very disappointed with his 37th finish yesterday. But coming down in the lower part, we really can't make much comment about his form.
But that is Kerry Mullen on the course, and look at that, only a second and a half back, finishes 17th. That's outstanding, given he had the 43rd start, and he'll be the top Canadian on the day. But the toast of Kitzbühel for the second straight day, second straight year, is Franz Heinzer. He earns lead for the top 15. Swiss had 4 there, the Austrians 5. Last week's winner at Garmisch, Vossmeyer, 10th today. A young man from Banff, Kerry Mullen, is going to recall this as his best finish to this point in his career, 18th today. And Felix Belchuk still improving after a prolonged slump that may just be over in time. We'll wrap up the...
Solomon, great finishes.
When he left the start gate at Lake Placid, Steve Podborski had a difficult task in front of him. The downhill was for gliders. It didn't play into the hands of the crazy Canucks, who like to ski on the edge. But skiing out of the final position in the first seed, number 15, Podborski did have history on his side. He wore the same bib number as Franz Klammer did in his gold medal triumph in Innsbruck 4 years earlier. Podborski almost didn't finish the race when his skis separated near the bottom of the hill, but he regained form. He made up time on the bottom of the course and managed to finish in 3rd place.